Your book, of course, is about what being in space taught you about life on Earth. But what are the most important lessons you think you've learned in your career as a whole about being an astronaut and the way that sort of impacts someone's life?
I think probably the most fundamental lesson is how to get ready for life. To not just cross your fingers and hope things are going to go well, because things always go badly. I mean, things always go wrong. That's life. Life is nothing but the realities of problems that crop up. So I think the most useful thing I learned as an astronaut was to not be worried about that, to anticipate things to always go wrong. And it started when I was a downhill ski racer. And then when I was a fighter pilot flying F-18s. And then when I was a test pilot, each of those things is a lifetime of visualization of the things that are going to go wrong, and then using the quiet time before the actual event occurs to get ready for it. And that's just absolutely exaggerated as an astronaut. The complexity of what's happening, the unforgiving nature of the environment you're living in, and the lack of chance to do something twice. You only get one try at most of the things, and you have to do it right first time. So I think the biggest thing I learned, and it's not just learned, it changed who I am and defined who I am. But the biggest maybe takeaway from it was how to deal with life, how to become prepared for your own life, how to not let the vicissitudes of life just bounce you around and drift you around, but to actually to prepare for them. And that I think that maybe the second half of that is the most useful is how to not go through life afraid, how to deal with fear in life. Because if all you're ever relying on is luck and chance and a lack of preparedness, then you're going to go through life with your fingers crossed and fearful. Now, what else could you do? Why not use the time that's available to prepare for the most probable things and the highest threats, so that then as they start to unfold, as they inevitably will, then your reaction won't be your primitive, fearful one, but in fact, you will have changed who you are. You'll have evolved your instinctive reaction so that you're not always fearful, and instead you're ready, and you therefore appreciate things as they happen a little more. And I think those changes, which have slowly occurred since I was that little 9-year-old boy dreaming of space flight, I think they've probably helped define who I am as a person, as well as helped lead to the things that I got to do as an astronaut. If I could take you, Will, or anybody who's watching and listening around the world with me a few hundred times, where you get to see the world for what it truly is, and the tininess of it, but also the age of it. We live these frantic little 75, 80 years of our lives. We desperately want our lives to be important. And so we do ridiculous things. We build pyramids, and we shoot each other, and the manifestations of our fear of anonymity and our fear of a short life cause us to do ridiculous behaviors and manifestations of those behaviors. And I think seeing the world the way that we get to see it from a spaceship and getting a true absorbed feeling of the age of the world, I think that changes your pacing. I think it gives you a permanent sense of optimism at the ageless, rejuvenating nature of our planet. Uh, and it helps put the day to day. I mean, there are horrible things happen that are reported in the papers every day, but for every bad thing that happens, there are a million wonderful things that happen every single day. But they don't sell newspapers, so we all sort of get overwhelmed by this waterfall or this avalanche of the bad news of the day, when in fact, the real true waterfall and avalanche is of the goodness of people and the graciousness of their behavior towards each other. And I think you get a better sense of that, a peacefulness. that comes from the quietness of a few thousand orbits of the world. And it doesn't solve problems, but I think maybe the improved self image, the self perspective, the more people that we can get to truly see the world for what it actually is, the better chance we have of making better decisions and doing things that are on behalf of all of us and not just on a personal or very small subset's frantic agenda.
Chris, it's been fantastic talking to you. I mean, I feel inspired. I'm sure our Slooh viewers will be, absolutely love hearing you talk about your experiences in orbit. So thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon on slooh.com.
My pleasure, and thanks actually to Slooh for what you put out for everyone, the insight that you give to the universe, and the things that you've offered up in the past during some of the significant exploration events that have allowed people to see things clearly. It's both generous and useful to folks. So I'm glad to have had a chance to talk with you.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you very much.